Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Wealth Building and Real Estate Summit. My name is Sherrod, an author and content developer for Black Enterprise. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce you to our amazing panel of experts. I'll begin with Sherrod, real estate broker, best-selling author, and HGTV host, followed by Anthony Morris, a real estate broker, the Morris team at Corcoran Group, John Hope Bryant, founder, chairman, and CEO of Operations Hub. And lastly, we have Nicole Sebree-Henry, senior director, multicultural marketing and Rocket Mortgage. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, thank you.
Thanks for having us.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So we're so excited to have you guys, and I'm sure our audience is extremely excited to learn from your expertise. So the first question that I have for you is, statistics indicate that the rate of homeownership is less than 50% in Black families compared to over 75% among white families. What are some of the key obstacles or challenges that Black families face in their homeownership journey?
I think I'll just address the elephant in the room, which is obvious. It's discrimination. We have to overcome extraordinary efforts that are embedded in the very fabric of the system. They're hidden in our financial system. And so, many of us think that we're playing within the lines, that we're following the rules, but the bar continues to get moved for us. In credit, dealing with many financial institutions, it is just the Black human experience when it comes to buying a home in America.
Hear, hear.
And to lean into that, also, there's a fear, right? There's a fear that comes with it because there's been such systemic racism that came along with it. A lot of people don't even try because either they think that they're not going to be approved for credit, because their credit may not be where it is, or because they've heard stories from friends. African Americans, we lean on our community. And if we don't know anyone who owns, or we've had people in our family, our mothers, our grandparents that had bad experiences, then what ends up happening is we're afraid to try because we don't want to be, declined, or you've heard these stories and now you're scared to not be discriminated against, so you don't even try.
So it's John Hope. So all that's true, particularly what Egypt said. But it's sort of what Malcolm X also said. We've been bamboozled. We've been tricked. And now we're looking for love in all the wrong places. So yes, it's true. Discrimination, 400 years, FHA, discrimination, 1920, all that's true. But now the color's green. The color's not black or white anymore. The color's not red or blue. The color is green. Everybody wants more of this. Couple challenges. Black America, we're all our genius. Now, when the rules are published and the playing field is level, think of the arts, think of professional sports, we kill it. We don't just do well, we dominate.
That's true.
So for capitalism and free enterprise. There was a freedmen's bank in 1865, and unfortunately Lincoln was killed. Frederick Douglass tried to run it. It was railroaded, it failed. We never got the memo on money. So half of Black folks today, brilliant as we are, have a credit score below 640. Half, not poor people. Everybody, like my cousin Pookie in, which means you're locked out of the free enterprise system. No matter how nice you are, go to church on Sunday, you're hardworking, you got good value. If you can't get a small business loan below 700, it's called a risky credit. You can't get a good mortgage below 680. You just can't. So if half of us, for whatever reason, because today I changed my credit score, we're doing that at Operation Hope, we do it for free. Half of us have credit score below 640 before you even start the conversation about anything else.
But I think
are locked out. A third of us have a negative net worth today, based on bad debt, which is consumer. We're financing tennis shoes, financing clothes. That's bad debt. We need good debt, which is financing homes and things that appreciate. So, we have never seen interest rates as low in our entire life. You'll never see it again. It's never coming again. They're giving the money away. But But we have got to prepare ourselves to enter the game right now. In the next 6 months, right now, we need to buy in the hood, D-A-H-O-O-D, the hood. An inner city in France is called Paris. We need to buy it, rehab it, rent it, and hold it instead of trying to rent uptown and impress somebody we don't know with money we don't have about things don't matter. Okay, Egypt, you were about to say something.
Well, I think, when you started touching on credit, what I really wanted to highlight, which we all here know, but I don't think people realize, because things start to feel like a generational curse, right? It's like, my mama didn't do it, my grandmama didn't do it, they messed up, not really understanding that the way the credit system works, creating the credit score was supposed to be to eliminate discrimination. And in fact, the very way the system was set up, the algorithms and the way that they were created to rate people, they unfortunately can do some of the same things that a racist lender, can do, because of the way that they decipher who the credit recipient is. And so we have to, number one, disown that narrative about us, that we can't, that, we mess up, that, we're not prepared, that we're not financially responsible. I don't own that. We don't need to own that anymore. And instead change our mind about who we are as a people and how we handle money. But also, I think instilling from the rooter to the tutor, talking to our children when they're young about money. For instance, my 10-year-old daughter owns her first investment property. Of course, kids can't convey title, so we own it through a trust. But, do you know how many people don't know that a trust is an option? They don't recognize that they need one. If you own anything, if you have children, if you want to leave them something, how to grow wealth, protect your wealth. So really what it starts with is financial education in our community, so that we know how to equip our children, the next generation, so they can do better. We can leave trust fund babies. We can leave legacy, not debt.
Yeah, and
That's very
I just want
powerful.
to piggyback on. Yeah, I just want to piggyback on what both John and Egypt said, specifically with regard to credit, because as a real estate broker, part of my function is to help people become homeowners, and credit is often a thing that we have to contend with. And what I found is that it's really the primary issue, because in terms of down payment monies, there are programs that are available that'll help homeowners with down payment money. There are programs to help with closing costs. There are low down payment, low interest rate loans. There are forgiveness loans for real estate. There's even loans to help you maintain the real estate after you own it. But if you don't have the credit, you won't qualify for any of it, not even any of the assistance or aid programs. Now, there is a loan instrument that allows for low credit, often, as low as the high 500s, maybe, FHA. However, even the FHA organization, the administration itself, has been historically involved in actions that have suppressed Black home ownership in our communities. So, while today the function of that administration is to help facilitate home ownership for poor communities and people of color, their hands are dirty too.
And we should really look at, like, when we look at the credit reports, right? We look at things like, student loan debt hits that if you're not paying that on time. And, as African-American people, we are paying on time. We pay our rent on time.
Yes.
We pay our utilities on time, but those things don't go toward the credit, right? So I can pay my rent for 20 years on time and no one ever knows, right? So, I work for Rocket Mortgage. We have a partnership with Multicultural, which is an African-American app that allows you to download your payments for your rent and things like that. And then it goes back toward your credit score. And those type of tools are needed and valued because, I've rented for a number of years and I've always paid on time when I rent, right? But no one ever knew that. So there's a lot of people like me, college educated, that rented for a very long time, that paid on time, and I never got the credit for it. But because I am college educated and I may not have paid my loans on time, that's hit my credit score. So with that being said, credit is the key. You can have all the down payment tools and all that stuff, but if you don't have the credit score, you still won't qualify. So we need to have tools in place to show things like paying rent on time, paying your utilities on time, that attributes back to the credit score.
I think that should be the norm, though. You know, what Rocket Mortgage is doing. I mean, how do we help more African Americans become homeowners? It's giving them credit for rent. I mean, definitely. I mean, if we're considering their credit score and we're looking at income and we're looking at, give them credit for what, you know, for rent. And I think that comes as part of reform, which I think we all know, you know, many of our government agencies need. FHA, you know, VA, they are responsible for 34%, you know, of our buying practices in the African American community, but they do not come without their hurdles. You know, it does not come without its migraines. So if we can get behind, you know, and support reform of many of these programs, I think that we'll see a trickle down.
So I want to make sure that we don't miss this brilliant thing that Anthony just said. We're covering a lot of ground in a short period of time. Anthony said FHA. If you want to understand why there's a wealth gap in America between Blacks and whites, he just said it. Basically, FHA guaranteed mortgages in the early 20th century. And banks went where, I mean, capital is a coward. Capital goes where it's safe. So if you are even a good banker and non-discriminatory, but mortgages were insured in white neighborhoods and not insured in Black neighborhoods, guess where your capital went? So capital went to white neighborhoods. That's where things bought and sold. Prices went up where places were bought and sold and had FHA insurance. You then had this disparity of asset appreciation where there was safety of the FHA insurance in white neighborhoods. Black neighborhoods stagnated even though they were equally valuable. And if you look today, literally you go into an area, you go, wow, here in Atlanta, that's $1 million home, but it's a $500,000 home because it's in a Black neighborhood. Take that same property and put it 20 minutes away and it's 1.5 million. There's the historic difference. And I think that is an extraordinarily important point that Anthony said. I also want to note that with all the things that Egypt's completely right, 100%. That's my credit score. I don't mind saying it. That's my credit score. I hope my phone number doesn't.
It's blurry. Shout it out.
It's 808 to 813. My credit score used to be 300. I was homeless.
Amazing.
I was 18. And I just got a $200 million credit facility from Barings to, I think it was the largest capital access deal of a Black person in a decade for homes in my real estate company, which by the way is reporting rent to the credit bureaus voluntarily and giving credit for financial literacy for free to the residents. And 65% of my vendors are Black and women, which means I'm basically taking my company, use it as a source of social justice. I'm only just saying that there's these challenges and there's these problems and life is unfair. But real estate still exists and we can still rise because we can still control our narrative. I'm moving credit scores 54 points in 6 months at Operation Hope, 120 points in 24 months. Nothing changes your life more than God or love than moving your credit score 120 points. And I don't really care whether you like me after that. I'm gonna get it.
Yeah, I just want to speak to what John said because, you know, my organization does it one homeowner at a time. But what we do is we address mindset, we address buying power, we address credit, we address access and information. And while he said we have these challenges, there are some solutions that my partner and I use on an individual basis, on a per client. Like we're doing a rent to own transaction right now for a co-op in Manhattan that's about $250,000. And the person is going to pay rent for a year. And at the end of the year, the rent goes toward the down payment and they get to make their purchase. That's not a common transaction in New York or in any major hot real estate market, but we have to use every tool available to empower people to become homeowners. And, you know, between financial tech and even, you know, reporting rent payments for credit score, we need the tools that help our community tell our financial narrative in a more accurate way. Because, you know, when I'm up at 5:30 and 6:30 in the morning and I see my neighbors all going, like we all want the same things for our communities as anyone else's community. And, you know, part of the solution is fixing the past, right? And another part of the solution is charting a way through our current moment, because there are still things here that are challenging. But, you know, it's mindset, it's access to information, even despite, you know, the obstacles and challenges that we face.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. So moving on to our next question. Lower rates of home ownership in Black communities can be a byproduct of systematic racism and the racial wealth gap. Which policies have been put in place to encourage and support more people of color to own their homes? Can you speak to that?
I don't want to dominate this. I mean, somebody else wants to, I have a response, but somebody else.
I don't think you're dominating. Please indulge us.
So again, this just frustrates the bejeebers out of me. I think we're like almost through this opportunity. It wasn't a home ownership policy that changed. It was a pandemic policy. Mm-hmm. We've had $7 trillion put by the federal government into this economy. That's never happened in a decade, yet no, 2 decades, let alone 2-year period. The Federal Reserve said to Wall Street, I'm not going to let you go broke. They kept the Fed window open. That's why all the equities went up. And anybody who owns stock, real estate, whatever, it went through the roof the last 2 years. We're not in the stock market, Black people. We're not. We only 41% of us own a home, compared to 74% of our white counterparts today. Now, but today, the last 2 years, and wealth has come into our situation, but we have not benefited by taking advantage of these incredibly low interest rates. So earning a tax credit, this is an indirect policy that affects it. We say we don't have the down payment. EITC, this is financial literacy. 1 out of 4 people who qualify for it read Black, never asked for it. So if you make $35,000 a year, you're watching this, and you have 3 children, the government owes you about $7,000, $6,000 and change. If you say, what's EITC? You listen to this and you say, what are they talking about? Congratulations. You qualify, and it's retroactive for 3 years. Now, Egypt, you probably do better math than me. What's that? $18,000, give or take, 6,000 times 3. All right, you have 3 children. The pandemic policies gave you a tax credit. When has your child ever made you some money, by the way? You get $3,000 per kid. That's not a tax credit, that's cash. That's $9 grand, 3 children, same example, same lady making $35,000. You take the 18 grand plus the 9 grand, that's almost $30,000. And if you filed for one of these loan programs that was the pandemic loan programs, even if you didn't get the loan, if you're financially literate, they'll give you a grant for $10,000 for applying. This is the SBA. That's another $30,000, so that's $40,000. So if you're trying to buy a house in the hood, any neighborhood, you $150,000 average home price, or $200,000, whatever, they just gave you your down payment plus a little fund for maintenance and things go wrong. You get your credit score up, go to some coaching with me or Anthony or whatever, or Egypt probably does it as well. Rocket Mortgage probably does it as well. You get your debt down, your credit score up. Now you get your down payment. That's the only homeownership policy you need. So it wasn't. There's already an incentive to own a home versus to rent. It's called a mortgage write-off. If you pay the rent and you get a mortgage, it's more beneficial to get a mortgage because you're gonna write that off the first 20 years of a 30-year mortgage. You're gonna write off every payment and get it back in your taxes. You're gonna get the appreciation and the depreciation. So you don't really need a revolution in tax policy on home ownership. It already exists. You combine that with this historic, these interest rates are like 2-3%. It's unbelievable. And 2 years from now, we're gonna be kicking each other because the interest rate's gonna be 7-8%. And we're like, what were we doing?
Let me say that when I bought my first property, I was 22 years old. My interest rate at the time was 6.875.
You thought that was a good deal.
Yeah, I thought, well, everybody did. My uncle, everybody, and they were congratulating me. They were like, oh, 6.8, because why? Their generation, they were purchasing homes. My parents, when they purchased their home, their interest rate was in the 14%. And historical highs, the highest interest rates have ever been, believe it or not, and this definitely happened, was 22%. When my grandparents purchased their house in North Philadelphia, it was a row home in North Philly for $17,000, but their interest rate was 22%. So to hear that, I purchased my new house 2 years ago for 2.25%, historic lows. And I think what's happening is people keep, right now, they're sitting on the sideline saying, are rates going to go back down? Are rates going to go back down? They don't realize rates are down. Rates are down. They are the lowest that we've seen in our lifetime. And even though it appears that they're on their way back up, it's still the opportunity to get off the fence, jump on, and get in the game. But there's another factor. I want to back off because I saw, Anthony, you trying to say something as well. But there's something else I don't think we're considering. I hope we can address. Go ahead, Anthony.
Sure. There's another policy that is an indirect policy, and the timing might have it that our community may not fully capitalize on it, which are opportunity zones. And if you're familiar with 1031 tax exchange, what it allows you to do is, if you sell a home, it allows you to take the profit from the investment property that you have and move all of the money into a new purchase and defer paying capital gains tax. Now, it's an interesting dynamic because in New York, we sell a lot of multifamily homes, 2-family, 3-family, and 4-family. So if you're in a 2-family or a duplex, a 2-unit home, 50% of that home is an investment. So 50% of your expenses to maintain that home are tax deductible, on top of the mortgage itself being tax deductible. But how do you get your money out? So I had a client, sold him a 3-unit, he lived in one, so 2/3 of his home was investment. He used the 1031 tax exchange to buy 2 investment properties, and he bought a personal home. The opportunity zone allows you to do that without it having to be real estate money to begin with. So you can have money in the stock market, you can have expensive investments, jewelry, art, and you can sell those assets and move those assets into real estate using an opportunity zone and defer any gains on the taxes that you may have had to pay on those. And while many of the opportunity zones were in the hood, many of them were not. The thing about New York is that price difference between, a more expensive property and a less expensive property isn't 20 minutes, it's 2 minutes. It's across the street. So, all those dynamics, play into I think what was a huge opportunity for our community. We have to actually have the money first before we can move it around. But, that was an opportunity to either, get into real estate or defer tax and not, be confined by the 1031 tax exchange.
Excellent. Kay, can I address something? Because you asked some great questions, and obviously we focused on the heart of the matter, which dealt with, we already know, systemic racism in the financial system, but it's and John addressed, well, how do we overcome it, break that mindset, and Anthony's giving us tools and all. But I think that there's something else to be considered about what's happening, period, across the board with home ownership, whether you're Black, white, Indian, Asian, whatever, across the board. The entire population of first-time home buyers right now they're being waterboarded by corporations and institutions who are liquidating, buying real estate between the price point of $200,000 and $600,000, which is generally, and I see you, Nicole, shaking your head because you guys are seeing this, right? First-time home buyers, FHA, it doesn't matter if you're FHA, it doesn't matter if you're VA, it doesn't matter if you're going conventional, they are not able to even get in to the game as of these last 18 months because of the rate that BlackRock, Vanguard, Zillow Group, all of these digital giants, and many of these financial institutions are buying up properties And they are turning, and you know, I've heard, you know, the Vanguard's game is to turn everybody into renters by 2030. let them tell it. But if first-time home buyers, if people can't get in to start creating wealth for their family, if they can't get in the door to, you know, to get in a house, I might have, you know, on any given day, I'm sure Anthony, this is going on with you as well, dealing in residential, but put a property on the market, have 32 offers for it, only 4 of them are homeowners, many of them going for 50, 60,000 over asking price cash from institutions. And I whisper to my client, this is what's happening. But how do I tell them don't take $40,000 cash over asking? And so what's happening is the average homeowner who's trying to enter the real estate game is totally getting iced out. That's a consideration for us to really look at.
And I think that is the elephant in the room. I'm somebody who's been looking for 2 years for a new home. And in that process is exactly what you're saying, Egypt. It's, you know, the homes are not appraising for how much that people are going above and beyond. So everyone's asking you to take that appraisal gap guarantee. So you're doing a down payment plus that money. You know, there are all these folks out here who are cash, you know, cash. How can the average person compete with a cash offer of $450,000? Like, you know, I'm out the running right there. And so for a lot of African Americans, we're out the running. So we're going into these situations where, you know, we can't compete with cash. We can't compete with this appraisal gap guarantee. There are people who are asking for, you know, let me live in the home for 3 months and you pay for it while I stay here. There are all these obstacles that even if you do have the money and you have this desire, there are things that are going on right now in this market that's still causing barriers. But I also think it's important that all 3 of you mentioned tools and programs that are in place. We a lot are intimidated by the financial game and understanding investing and understanding banking and understanding owning homes, right? So all of those programs, you know, somehow the onus is on us and companies that like I represent to do financial education, to make people aware that these opportunities are out there.
So, yeah, I just want to comment on specifically this point from what Egypt said to you, Nicole, about competing with cash buyers. And I don't have one institutional answer to correct that. But I've seen what that looks like on an individual basis. My business partner, Lisa James, I'm primarily a selling agent. I've spent 20 years selling houses. She spent the last 15 years helping buyers buy homes. And her average running time is about 30 to 45 days to get buyers into a home. And I can tell you, we don't have a network of cash heavy liquid buyers. So, you know, the strategies and the tactics that we use, like I think Julian Gordon said, what's better than a cash offer is a fast offer. So there are techniques to compete with cash, no problem. You know, we do it every day. I just don't know how to apply that on an institutional or structural level.
You know, and my mama taught me to not be rude. So I keep raising my hand. I don't think anybody can see. I'm going to wait. Look, I don't want to leave this point. I think we're looking for, again, I just think we stop reading the newspaper. Like, stop listening to TV. Just stop it. You're freaking yourself out. Look, I bought real estate in Atlanta, which is the moral capital of America, like Black, Ozzie and Harrietville, right? I bought real estate in 2017 from institutions, from the same institutions we're talking about, because they had reputation risk concerns, and I convinced them to sell it to me. If they hadn't had that, I couldn't have bought 700 homes as efficiently as I did. So it's a negative on the one hand, but it could be a positive on the other. I could not be the largest. I'm right now the largest minority-controlled owner of single-family rental homes in America. I didn't exist before 2017. I couldn't have even done it had it not been for institutions stubbing their toe. We need to hear this. Capitalism is a gladiator sport. Please hear this. It's not meant to be nice. It's not meant to like you. It's not meant for you to like it. The worst version of this was slavery. That was about money too. So we need to sort of knock it off, stop expecting it to be nice and fair and come to us wrapped in a little blanket. It's not. It's a gladiator sport. It's ruthless, right? And what we got to be is more, this is going to sound horrible, more ruthless, all right? So when you're being run out of town, get in front of the crowd, maybe like a parade. I can show you right now in Atlanta, you can go and buy a house. I can show you 10 homes right now that nobody's competing with in centrally located areas. It's a little rundown, it's a little raggedy, right? Fine, buy it, rehab it, rent it, live in it if you like, or but don't sell it because the real estate's just going up in value. Forget all this fancy places everybody wants to buy. Between Midtown and Atlanta, I can show you this in every inner city in America, by the way, between Midtown Atlanta and the airport, the busiest airport in the world, real estate's gonna go like this because it's centrally located and it's undervalued. But we're looking, we're trying to find the beautiful mansion with a curated garden. That's what everybody is looking for. No, ignore that. My real estate went up 41% in 2 years. By the way, I knew it was time to sell. I sold my stuff last December of last year for $120 million. I sold it back to myself, by the way, and to another company because I'm going to try to grow it now to $1 billion. But I had to become liquid because I thought 41% is unsustainable. This cash buyer thing, all that stuff, it's not going to last. The stock market's taking a hit. All these folks are spending free money, stock market. The stock market take a hit. That money's gone. People start pulling offers. They're going to start, being more discriminatory about how they make decisions. Interest rates are going up 3 to 5 times this year alone. That's going to put take the razor right off the top of all this, irrational exuberance. Be there, ready to move.
I agree with that. I agree with what John is saying. I agree with that wholeheartedly. I mean, I think we can all recognize that, we've been propped up, by this pandemic assistance money. We've been propped up by these programs, and many people, last year before went into forbearance, on their mortgages. Those who didn't even have to, and those forbearance loans are coming due. And essentially, what they're saying is, the bank is saying, guess what? We want our money. We want it now. We want it plus interest. And, I don't think a large population understood that meant that you still got to come up with that money. They're not necessarily, all these programs aren't tagging it on the end. And so, we do expect, and economists are speaking of a high level of potential foreclosures, over third and fourth quarter. I don't have a crystal ball. None of us have a crystal ball. But I really want to come from the perspective of, someone watching who is not running a company, who can't afford multi-million-dollar deals, who can't run out and flip houses, who are just trying to get in, who want to purchase their first home, or who want to purchase their next family home, and they're trying to navigate that because that's the real America right there. That's the huge majority. The people who look like mom and pop who are just trying to get their feet in, not necessarily those who are well-seasoned investors like some of us, and they want to know what's in it for me. Where do I find the help? And so I agree fully with what John and what Anthony said is, real estate is cyclical. It goes up, it comes down. There are always opportunities for those who know where to find them and those who know how to work them and know where the money is. But for those who don't, there are programs. For instance, I'm based out of Atlanta, Georgia. We do have, depending upon what your project is, we have Invest Atlanta, we have the Georgia Dream program, we have NACA, we have USDA, which folks don't even understand that. The USDA, you zero down, you can own a home right now. Right now, I want you to look into that because especially in Georgia, some of the areas that used to be considered more rural, USDA still applies, but it still now is becoming, because of the housing shortage, it's becoming part of Metro Atlanta, but you can still get a USDA loan for it. And so look wherever you are in the country, find out where the grants, the loans, the down payment assistance is called, your municipality, find out what's out there for you because there are programs. There are ways for you to get in. But I definitely didn't want to be the doomsday speaker earlier when I was emphasizing what's truly happening in the market. But I think we have to be aware. We have to know, because what I find that's happening to buyers is they're getting so discouraged from their experience. They're out there searching and offers, some offers are being accepted, but like you're right, Anthony, they're having to risk their second born, to do and for those who unfortunately can't compete, they're getting very discouraged. I don't want them to be discouraged, but I also want them to know it's not their fault. They've done nothing wrong. They followed the rules. It's not your fault, but you do have to stay in the game. And at all times, make yourself marketable. Keep that credit up. Make sure that you're paying things down, but not off, so that they unfortunately close those lines of credit, which is happening to a lot of people. They're closing their lines of credit discriminatorily. Is that a word? I just made it up. But they're doing that. And so know what you have to do and put the work in. And then when it's time to stand by, and it may be right now, right now may not be the time for you to buy, but third quarter may be, fourth quarter may be.
And one question we always have is, when is the best time to buy?
Mm-hmm.
The best time to buy is when you can afford to buy. If you can afford to buy it, that's when you buy it.
That's right.
And in terms of telling the future, it's been my experience that we go from a buyer's market to a seller's market, mm-hmm. to a deal maker's market, to nobody's market. And then we start back over. So while we might see a bunch of cash today, you can tell where the economy is when you start seeing banks giving people money to buy houses. You don't see any cash in the game anymore. It's all finance, and then it's heavy on the finance, light on the cash, right? And then they have the ninja. You ain't even got to have a job. That's when you know the market is just deteriorated. But it is cyclical, and it goes around and around. So recognize the patterns.
So look, the fact that Egypt had to say what she felt she had to say, which I agree with, the clarity. I talk so fast and I get so frustrated with, I've been doing this 30 years. I get so tired of people, let me wait, let me reflect. No, there's no time to wait. I'm a sophisticated investor. But every time I say, let me think about this, a year or two later, what I thought about just went up. So even I get caught. And what I'm saying is, go to Egypt, go to Anthony, go to Nicole, come to Operation Hope. Our services are free. You don't have to be sophisticated. You work for, you're a Walmart manager, you're a UPS manager, whatever, you're ready to buy. Come to us, tell us where you are. We'll help you get your credit score up. We'll help you get your debt down. Stop going to Starbucks and stop smoking cigarettes. It'll kill you anyway. And you'll save 10, 20% in your budget. You'll get your rights so you can then buy that house. We'll even help you buy the house. You don't have to be intimidated by the process. And don't wait. Interest rates are going to go up. I guarantee you. There's inflation's too hot right now. The politicians must stop the inflation. They're going to ratchet up interest rates. You should not even be sleeping right now. Whoever's watching this, do not go to sleep. Do whatever you can in the next 3 months to get everything refinanced, credit cards, student loans if you can. But a home, at least a home you can get. I guarantee you have a job. I guarantee you I can get you into a home that you can afford. It maybe not be the bougie one you want, but it'll be a home that's yours, right? But
you got to start somewhere.
You have to. Yeah. The important thing is you can do it. In last year, African Americans spent $65 billion in purchasing homes, right? So people are doing it, and you have the ability to make it happen for yourself. One thing that we've been working on, as a team at Rocket with the African American consumers, is we're calling it legacy chaser, right? So there's two paths. There are those people who are buying their first home and no one in their family has ever owned a home, but they're establishing a legacy for wealth generation for their children, right? Then you also have those, I've been doing my own family research, and I've been going deep down. I've gone back to the 1800s. And, right post after slavery, I've noticed a number of my relatives who were farmers, but they owned their land, right? And so what we need to realize is that we do have a history of ownership, even when it was hard, even when there was redlining, even when there were issues. Our ancestors, a lot of them owned their land. So we owe it to ourselves to keep that legacy alive or build it for the future for our children. And it's there. There's all kinds of programs. We have served our country. There are veteran programs that can do no money down. Look into those. Look into all the no money down, the 3% down. We provide 3% down. Make it something important for you and your family to build a legacy, to build wealth, to invest.
And I think information.
what people are probably asking, you know, outside of that is, you know, what can I do? What can I do? I think educating yourself and then passing it on, right? It is, I believe, part of our job to pass knowledge on the same way that we pass our amazing enriched history on. You know, we need to pass our financial knowledge on to our children, and they're never too young. And we may ask ourselves, you know, like I had to ask myself with my daughter when, you know, she's 9 years old, hearing me talk on the phone and saying, Mommy, you know, what is a mortgage and why is a credit score important? Instead of just saying, all right, I'll talk to you later, it's no, stop. That's an opportunity to take a time and plant a seed that is going to grow with them, so that when they are 20 years old or they're 25 years old, the idea of purchasing a property, of ownership, of owning investment property, of owning a piece of the pie, a piece of the earth, a piece of land is not foreign to them. It's not something that seems scary, so they have to sit on the side. It's actually something that's ingrained in them, much like YouTube. That they feel like I can get in and play this game. And I think that is how we can make the difference for generations to come.
Thank you so much.
We better hurry up because they're already selling real estate in the metaverse.
Yes, they are.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for your time, everyone. This was such a wonderful conversation. And I mean, the floor is open for any final words for the audience.
Well, I'll just say, don't be afraid, you know, do your research, know your history, know that you can do this. You can find a way to own your home. Think about rent right now. You're renting a smaller space and you're spending a lot of money. You can go into a home, a larger home than the space that you're renting, and you can start to build wealth that way. That's just, you know, the tool and the tip that I would give.
I would say do what John said and start now, because we've worked with clients for 6 months, a year, 2 years before they actually purchased. They needed support, help, and coaching on savings, earnings, credit. So the sooner you start, the better, and start now, immediately. Contact anybody from this panel and you'll be one step closer to homeownership.
Absolutely.
Yeah, do something, everybody. Just go do something. PhDs are good, PhDs are better. Download the Hope in Hand app. It's free. Go to a Hope Inside location near you. It's 183 locations in 35 states. I'm like the Starbucks of financial inclusion. It's free. Get your credit score up. You can control it. Don't let anybody tell you no. Take no for vitamins, in fact. Just when you're being run out of town, get in front of the crowd and be like a parade. No, just be like Egypt.
Thank you so much, everyone. We appreciate your time and have an amazing day.